And good morning once again to General Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal. We are blessed to have you say here among us. You know, it reminds me of our president of Umkhonto weSizwe Party when he said, "Abanye bayokhala." I don't want to put it in English. Ngizoyibika njengesizulu, you'll interpret if you have to. Abanye bayokhala. I want to emphasize that once again. Let me start my questions to the general. You know, I've listened vividly yesterday here. Explosive stuff about what is happening in this country. I'm going to ask the general 4 questions, not 2. You know, I think it will be much easier for me to be able to complete as quickly as I can. 1, were you informed by senior police that the president is not happy about the task team drama and wanted clarity? I'm not sure whether that would be from you or from the National Commissioner. Perhaps the general can give us a clarity on that. I just want to find out about the presence of an elected person like Brian Mkhwanazi in a secret service meeting. What is your take on that, General? Number 3, if you remember well, I know this is a national issue of Senzo Meyiwa, that one of your colleagues, you know, perhaps it will be proper as well if he's here, one perhaps can pose that question. One accusing that Senzo Meyiwa case was charged and sentenced and given bail committed for murder. Who's magistrate and which law did he apply to give such a criminal a bail? As I said earlier, a disclaimer, perhaps that question would be good as well for the NPA to respond on these matters. Why was General Sibiya promoted to a senior position, even though there was a complaint that he procured a device that hacked phones for private purpose?
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. The last question, I think, is better be directed to the National Commissioner as well as the former Minister Cele, who I think were involved in the appointment of a person into the service, as well as the promotion of his rank into the Lieutenant General post. Regarding the magistrate that granted bail to one of the accused in Senzo Meyiwa case, Honorable Chair members, I said yesterday, I'm not a lawmaker, but as we are enforcing the law and trying to satisfy the clients out there, we identify gaps in the legislation. Gaps that if we're to be invited to give our input, we might give input. The unfortunate part, the honorable members might not agree with the inputs we give, because our inputs in the main might be seen as a police, might be seen as a violation of human rights. We must appreciate the fact that majority of the leaders of our government have made 10 in those walls of prison in the past. Perhaps the recognition of human rights was to try and prevent the experience that some of the leaders had in the past. But in so doing, government opened or made the life of a criminal to be comfortable behind bars. It is the law of this country that allows a person to be treated as innocent until proven otherwise. The mere fact that the very same court will sign off a warrant of arrest of a person person get arrested, but the same court then decides a person is got the right to be released on bail, it then defeats the purpose. Because the same court will have signed a warrant of arrest. The same court then says the person must then be released on bail. The freedom that are enjoyed by presiding officers to decide on whether to keep a person in custody or not can, to some degree, contribute to more crime that we're experiencing in the country. So when the presiding officer decided to grant a murder suspect more than one bail, he goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. He goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. It becomes an unending crime scene that you're dealing with. Honorable Chair members, there are many examples. Police officers can give you a list of them. We had one in KZN where a person was found guilty for 12 years, but wholly suspended. He walked out of the prison doors and he called his friend to have a celebration. When they arrive at home to organize celebration, the victims of that crime visited them while they were having the celebration. They killed 8 people. And the South Africans made noise that so many people killed in KZN, but forgetting that this is the community that decided to take the law into their own hands because the system failed them. When a person is found guilty for 12 years for serious crime, but that all the sentences are suspended, it makes you ask yourself a question. If you've lost a person, you've been raped, you will not accept that. But unfortunately, the law protects the very same perpetrator. It is this House that passes the budget for those that committed crime to be fed in prison and live a luxury life at the expense of the taxpayer. So I'm going to leave it there in as far as the magistrate is concerned. We're safe to challenge the legislature to look at the powers given to the magistrates to decide on punishments. Perhaps we might want to employ a different method of deciding on matters of this nature. My take in the presence of Mr. Brown in SAPS meetings, my take in Mr. Brown having access to police matters, presentation of crime intelligence and so forth, it's a violation of the very same security that you want to protect as the police. The safety of the citizen that the Minister of Police is given a responsibility to ensure that is provided to the citizens is violated if we invite people that have got no authority to be part of the security architect of government to play part. So this is the highest infiltration you can think of, well, all the time we've been saying a political party because he had claimed to be a politician. The minister himself claimed to be his comrade. I believe when he say comrade, he means he's a member of his political party. Although surprised of late to learn that actually he's not a member of that political party. So I do not know the word comrade where it came from when the minister said he was a comrade. Because it means the minister invited a person who's got no political standing to even be involved in policing matters. And that is a serious concern. It's part of the reason why I wanted to address it with the minister, because it's going to have serious consequences going forward. I was not informed about the president's take in terms of the unhappiness with regard to the PKTT, but I want to invite honorable members to go on YouTube and go and listen to the president when he recently, after my press briefing, when he visited Northern Cape, and he made a press briefing there. And he was asked by journalists this question about his views on the PKTT. His words was, the PKT is doing a very good job. So if it comes from the head of state, after my address, that the PKT is doing the good job, then I wonder which president that the minister is talking about. Because the president recently said the PKT is doing a good job. So it makes me believe the president was not even aware about what the ministers decided back in December. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General. I just want to find out as well, generals, about individuals within IDEC and perhaps the mandate of ID and IDEC, because recently there was an allegation on the media that there's an imminent arrest of the National Commissioner and yourself by IDEC. And I just want to find out, the mandate of IDEC and ID in your understanding. And there are individuals who are being quoted, which I think there'll be witnesses here as well. Maybe you know them, because most of them, we are told, are coming from KZN. Brian Padiache, you've spoken about him yesterday here. And I'm not sure whether General Moodley has resigned and now, or is still within the police in KwaZulu-Natal. Dylan Perumal, Sunil Bulchen, and Nico Williams. And the prosecutor famously known as Prosecutor Shabalala, who's prosecuting in different areas, in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng as well, moving with the task team, guided by the task team, special task team. Now, my question to you, General, I'm not sure whether are you aware of this, as you said, perhaps because I'm giving names here, because that's it's in the public domain, that those are the members who are rogue in IDEC. And perhaps, do you know any rogue unity as well within South African Revenue Service, as well, working with some of the crime intelligence police officers? In one area, General, there's Captain Pele, who was convicted from the crime intelligence service in KwaZulu-Natal. And he was reporting to Colonel Zulu. Zulu was reporting to General Moodley. There was a misrepresentation of facts when they were giving a designated judge in terms of these communication, backing some telephone numbers. In one of those telephone numbers which they backed, they will back someone using somebody's telephone. When I'm saying representation, in one of those cell phone numbers, they were using then former Minister and former National Commissioner General Qele's number. And Qele was convicted. Captain Qele was convicted for 3 years, but it was suspended. So he was still within the police force of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm not sure now in the criminal intelligence whether he's still in the police, or has he resigned, or because he was convicted. I think it would have been perfect, for SAPS to decide what would they do with that. Now, have you noticed this trend of IDEC prosecutors and investigators taking matters before specific magistrates for a purpose of signing warrants, bail applications, and trial? In particular, in these 3 provinces, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng, is the provincial commissioner aware of that? I understand that you are provincial commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, but some of the incident started when you were still an acting national police commissioner. I know it's long ago. My last, in the 4, I'll just check time whether I'm still within my time. You referred to the Northern Cape when the president was asked about the question of the PTT. In your view, has the president in his constitutional power as an ultimate authority over the system, will you agree that he has failed to act which that makes him complicity by omission and warrants a criminal inquiry into this executive interference by the special lift minister, Senzo Mkhunu. What would be your take on that? In the light of these revelations, that classified briefing were photographed and sent to the civilian close to the minister, should the commander-in-chief, being the president, be held personally answerable for failing to safeguard this national intelligence? Thank you, General.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member. I did not necessarily get some of the questions that you were asking, but the last one, where you are seeking my opinion about the President's response on the issues that were presented on the 6th of July. I said yesterday, you asked me about police management and how to deal with things in the police. I can answer. But you ask about the management of the country. I might have my own opinions, but I'm not in that position to be able to say this, what the President should have done, and this, what he shouldn't have done. I've not been exposed to that level of what it takes to run a country. So it's going to be difficult for me to say, is the action of the President establishing the Madlanga Commission the right thing or not? I don't know. Is it the right thing that the Parliament is doing, establishing a separate committee or not? I don't know. So I cannot then express my opinion. Yes, I'm a citizen of the country. Chair said yesterday that I've got the right to express my opinion as a citizen of the country that participate in elections. But as an official of government, as a disciplined police officers, the President remains the commander-in-chief. He remains my commander. If I have issues with him, I need to find a way through my commanders to address with him. So in this instance, about the challenges we're facing, I went through the National Commission to try and reach out to the President. Never went to the President directly myself. So that is where, as far as I can go. So I cannot express opinion whether he knew and what did he know and how did he react. That's why I was making a reference to his address in Kimberley, if I'm not mistaken, after my address, where he said to the media that the PKTT is doing a good job in KZN. So they made me believe that he is not necessarily in favor of the decision that was taken by the minister in December last year. I'm told about the advocate of the NPA that works very close in dealing with the cases that are within the IPID as well as the cases that are within IDEC. But I like to believe that maybe the national director of the prosecution will be invited to come and explain more about the jurisdiction of that prosecutor, whether he's authorized to work like that or not. I cannot talk on behalf of the NPA. Save honorable chair and members to mention that the very same national director of public prosecution went on the national TV where she said there are bad things happening within the NPA. Maybe she did not have the energy or the courage to drop names and tell who is doing what where, but she mentioned that. So perhaps if she comes here, she might want to elaborate that in details. Who is doing what within the NPA? The Cele that you are referring to, honorable member, that was convicted, I don't have the details. Maybe if you finish me with the details of that Cele, I might be able to investigate so that I can be able to give a full briefing as to the whereabouts of that Cele, if it's still within the service or not in the service anymore. The members of the SAPS that are going to be coming here, if the member comes from KwaZulu-Natal and comes to this portfolio committee, is invited by this portfolio committee, I must know about it. If I don't know about it, it could be one of the two things. Either that member coming here works for the national divisions that are based in KZN. In that case, I'm not responsible for their movements. I wouldn't know about where they're going at any given time. On two scenarios, that if the member comes there and yet he works under my command in KZN, it could be the member that is coming here unauthorized if I have not given a permission because I have not been informed. Or it's a member that would have traveled here during his or her spare time. In such a case, I don't have any say as to where the members going. So I wouldn't really know who are the members that are invited, but a Major General Mutley that you made a reference to, I know at one stage he was dismissed from the service recently and he made an appeal in court, and I think his dismissal was overturned. I don't know what's the status because I'm not in that space of intelligence. I like to believe you are referring to General Mutley from Crime Intelligence. The General Mutley from Crime Intelligence used to work in KZN. Honorable Chair members, I spoke about what happened in 2011 when one was given a privilege of managing the organization at the national level. Major General Mutley was one of the subjects of investigation where General Khumalo was a brigadier then, responsible for counterintelligence. He was accused of many things. One of them, Honorable Chair members, and I spoke about this yesterday, that there's so many wrong things. One of the examples I'm going to cite now that you're mentioning the name is that a police officer will own a farm. And in that farm will employ people that are working in the farm. And all those people that are working in the farm, they get registered in the police as agents. And they draw the salary every month from the secret fund account to pay for their employment in the farm. That's a typical example of what we're dealing with in 2011 that has not stopped to date. General Mutley was one of the implicated people in that. So I know of a General Cele as a former National Commissioner of the Police, the Minister of Police, not the captain that you are referring to, whose number, cell phone number, was included in the application that was submitted to the judge, where the request was to listen to these phone numbers by Crime Intelligence as they were running an operation. The judge needed to approve that you have this case that you're investigating, you are giving an authority for this period to monitor the communications on these phones. General Cele's number was included by the members of Crime Intelligence, of which the head of the investigation team, where General Khumalo and the team are arrested, was accused of when he was at Crime Intelligence. He was part of the people suspected to be involved with that. And it's part of the things we're trying to clean out at the time at Crime Intelligence. But unfortunately, when the new leadership came in 2012, we were pushed aside. Those things were not finalized. At the time, General Mkhwanazi was suspended by myself. But when I moved out of the position, he was transferred from Durban. He went to work at the head office in Pretoria. And he's been working there ever since. So, Honorable Chair members, I do hope that as we're engaging, we are showing some of deficiencies that exist in the system, which require the serious interrogation, because it doesn't start now. It started way back and it's still happening now. The police leadership will sit in a place like this to come and account before the Portfolio Committee on Police. The chairperson sitting on top will receive information from members from Crime Intelligence and should take that information and pass it to the honorable member across to attack the police management this side. We have the facts on those. But we couldn't clean those things up, and they are still happening today. So I'm not sure if there's any question that I've missed on that, honorable member.
Nope, you haven't missed anything, General. Let me just conclude my last 4.5 minutes by saying I'm happy that the issue as well that Peggy Cele requested a police. I just want to have your take on that. Who was investigating serious cases of political killings, which my counterpart will deal with that. Be released of his duties to join him in Gauteng and abandon serious cases. Was that the right decision? Was it allowed? And why was it allowed, if it's allowed? I'm not sure, General, whether it's proper for us to say, to demand audit of the Secret Service accounts. Maybe not in our portfolio committee, perhaps on another portfolio committee of intelligence, but I'm talking about Crime Intelligence, which I think, I might be wrong, that within us, in the police portfolio committee, that we have to have that. We must demand that. And I'm happy that our chair is here. But I just want to get an advice from you. What would be your take on that? Because yesterday in your presentation was that there's too much power invested in one person, the National Co-Commissioner. Perhaps it will be proper for us to reconfigure the police now. As you said, that the population has grown. There's more challenges in this country. Maybe the provincial commissioners or provinces must have a certain powers to deal with matters of police. Which us as lawmakers, I think we have to consider that, your proposal which you've made yesterday. But I supported that when I look at it, and I think it will work wonders. Because as you said now, sitting here, that all the powers are invested in one individual, which might be a risk for the country. And I want to say that on that one, I'm giving you a thumbs up. As Mkhwanazi, I think we spoke about that and said, perhaps we have to lobby other parties to have that done. The other issue, I'm not sure about the cost of taxpayers' money in all these shenanigans which happen, for the Department of PKTT, and the issue which is very concerning general, that a private company in this country will be guided by the police and our elite police, the elite special task team, the Richards Bay terminal. And we are very concerned with that, General. I'm not sure what is your take, because the president is involved with that company, alleged, let me put it like that, alleged involved with the Richards Bay, that has got business interests. And that the team was sent there as well without your knowledge. Now, we know what happened in Marikana. When some of the members, executive members, were directors of Lonmin, were killed. The workers, they were killed. But I'm trying to indicate about the issue of Richards Bay. That why are we having our police guarding a private company's interest? My last one, Chair. The issue of Tembisa, the Matlalas and the Mkhwanazi, the 360 million tender, I know it's at the national level. But as you said, you've got your PO, I think you said your PO, the Board of Provincial Commissioners, if I'm right. I'm not sure what was this matter being raised, because the question from the media and from the people of this country, they want consequence management. They are asking themselves, and they're asking us as members, as representative of the people. One question we should have asked, they're asking about why some people are not arrested, like Maumele, who went to court recently seeking to get permission to go abroad to Disneyland with his child. That we are told is one of the big five, and is not arrested. He's roaming freely as if nothing has happened, and someone was killed. No, you're not the chair. The chair is out. And he's intimidating me now. And I just wanted to find that from you, Chair. General, through you, Chair, who's absent. And I think I'll come back at a later stage because I'm a bit worried that Lieutenant General Khumalo was arrested by this infamous, so-called infamous rogue team from IDEC. You've explained yesterday, and we understood you very well, that there's two divisions within, there's good men and women at IDEC, but there are some of these investigators who retired from South African Police Service. But the funny part, General, I'm not sure whether it's allowed by law. They took dockets to IDEC from the police. They were investigating cases when they were still working in the South African Police Service. They resigned. They went to IDEC. They took dockets to IDEC and harassing people. So my question, is that allowed for a police officer to resign after resigning when he was still investigating cases? Then he took the docket with himself to another state institution, because IDEC is not, they are accounting to NDPP. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General. In absentia.
Thank you so much, honorable members. The last part on IDEC, honorable member earlier spoke about the names of members that are working at IDEC that are supposed to be part of the rogue team. And I said earlier, I isolated one, Mr. Padachi. There are many members working there. Yes, some of the names that you mentioned are part of the team, but not all the members that are part of the team are bad members. They are participating, yes, but at least they are the ones that are sharing us information about the rot. Other than that, we would not have known about what's happening inside. Thanks to them. But we'll be able to give you their details when the time is right. We're not going to do it now. Those that are, yes, they are painted back because they're inside, but they are able to tell us about the wrong that is happening inside. So we are happy to have them there so that they pass this information to us and that help us to be able to know what's happening inside IDEC. The status of the case dockets, honorable members, this is not only the problem with IDEC. I think the Portfolio Committee of Police, honorable chair of the Portfolio Committee is here today, and the honorable member. It's some of the things that might need to be looked at, because when the ACPS is brought before the committee to account, we account on case dockets. But once a case docket move over to IPID, on the system remains with ACPS, but the ACPS doesn't know what's happening in that docket. It's saying an IPID, and IPID is not held accountable mostly of the time because they don't have a system to monitor those dockets. Similar happened to IDEC. IDEC takes the docket away from the police station, and they register a case at the police station and they take it away and they disappear. It remains open on the system and the police, and it affects the detective performance. And yet that docket sits somewhere else, and it's a responsibility of another entity. So it's some of the controls that might need to be looked at. Yes, DPCI is within the organization, but they also have dockets that are sitting with them that are registered at police stations. And there's no updating of the information sometimes at the station, but at least with DPCI, they have access into the system, so they update the status of the investigation remotely from wherever they are having the docket with them, similar to the task teams that they're able to do that. But the entities that are outside the police system, which is IDEC and IPID, we find it difficult in terms of managing the investigation. So it would be easy for a docket that was with IPID originally, we know that it's with IPID, for that docket to have moved from IPID to IDEC, and we won't know about it because it was anyway outside the police control. So it's some of the challenges that we will want to fix. The issue of General Khumalo of KZN, Major General Khumalo, together with General Cele Meta, I think I spoke about it yesterday, that General Khumalo did not resign from the police, and therefore Gerald Cele did not get his way. The Gerald Cele will come here and he will confirm that I was not very pleased with what he attempted to do at the time. So I think that matter we can close it like that because it never went anywhere. Yes, I did highlight the issue of RPM in KZN. Honorable Chair members, yeah, when I mentioned the issue of RPM is because I wanted, as I was asked to give a background about the members that I was accused of having stopped them from doing their work, whether these members were under my control or not, and how they came about to be in KZN, and what were they doing in KZN. That's why I ended up talking about this. I still believe that the leadership of the police, the National Commissioner, who else that deployed them, they might need to come and explain what were they doing there and why not. Why was I not part of it? Honorable Chair members, the Constitution of the Republic and the Police Act only makes reference to two individuals to be in charge of the service. The National Commissioner is appointed by the Constitution as well as Police Act. The National Commissioner appoints the Provincial Commissioner, also recognized by the Constitution and confirmed by the Police Act. Those are only two. And the rest of the people that or employees that we have in the organization are referred to as members. So when you have the system designed by the Constitution like that, and which similar happens in Parliament, you have a minister who's a cabinet member, then you have the president. Yes, the president appoints deputy ministers, but we've seen it many times. So when a minister is out of the country or is not well, and for whatever good reason, a deputy minister does not act as a minister. Another minister acts. But in South African Police Service, where you have a National Commissioner appointed in line with the Constitution and the Provincial Commissioner appointed in line with the Constitution, when a National Commissioner is not in the office, a member gets appointed to be acting National Commissioner. That's why we are in this dilemma today, because there are so many generals sitting at the head office that are appointed by national commissioners and given portfolios at the national office, and they feel they're too powerful. And that's what contributes to this. The National Commissioner goes on holiday in 31st of December. He appoints a member who is a Deputy National Commissioner as the acting National Commissioner, which means by default that person must be in charge of the Provincial Commissioner. Literally, that's what it means. Is that what the Constitution envisaged? Is that what the Act envisaged? I'm not a legal person to answer the question, but the National Commissioner appoints in black and white and say you are the acting National Commissioner for a period, I'm not in the office. Then you're going to find that that acting person will end up sitting in meetings. The POC that you're talking about, the Board of Commissioners, is a structure that is catered for in the legislation between, and it's explicit, between the National Commissioner and the Provincial Commissioner. Nobody else. But I invite you to go and see the minutes of the POC in the police. There's 9 provincial commissioners and 1 national commissioner. That makes 10. But there's more than 10, 11, 12 lieutenant generals that are sitting at the head office. They are part of this POC. So whatever is discussed at the POC is dominated by these generals at the head office. I know that because I come from there. I was part of those. So the voice of the provincial commissioner gets silenced in such meetings. You don't have a voice much at that POC. You might say something, but the divisional commissioner is influencing the national commissioner, or the DNC has decided. So therefore, we must follow the line. So it's part of the problems that we have in this organization. So I hope if those things are introduced, then you're not going to have a deployment of members that are coming to the province that the provincial commissioner doesn't know about, to avoid the RPM things. Because ultimately, the provincial commissioner must be accountable for what's happening in the province. And the Constitution says the provincial commissioner must engage with the executive authority of the province. And in order to satisfy the communities of that province, we have to find a way of making some amendments in the legislation so that we empower such to be done at the provincial level. Honourable member, you spoke earlier about the IDEC and the powers that they have I think the Amendment Act of the NPA, if I'm not mistaken, it should be in section 7 somewhere about. It's outlined what the IDEC is supposed to be investigating. But the first part is that they're dealing with serious and complex cases. And then they list type of charges related to that seriousness, fraud, corruption, and so forth. Act of dishonesty is also written somewhere there. So I like to believe that if you take that which is in a section of the NPA Amendment Act and you look at what IDEC is doing currently and balance the two, you're going to find gaps. That surely IDEC, whatever cases they have before them, might not necessarily fulfill that which that section on the Amendment Act was envisaged. So if that happens, then you might need to ask yourself a question as a legislature whether did you take the right decision to establish this entity? Or else maybe you might want to look at taking these powers you gave it to this entity back to the DPCI, and you look at how do you empower the DPCI to be fully in control and independently so to be able to prosecute these cases. Because a typical example, if a police officer wants to come and search your house, an investigator is going to make a submission to the prosecutor will sign off and give it to the magistrate will authorize a warrant for that to happen. But at IDEC, at NPA, that doesn't happen. The prosecutor that is part of the investigation signs this thing and they go straight to your house to come and session. They don't go via all these other people. It might be quicker to resolve problems, but there's an abuse of the system that is built into that, which I wanted the committee to look at. I hope this is just about everything you've asked.
Thank you, Chair General. Chair, you were out and I've abused you a bit, but thank you so much, General. I think the only last thing which perhaps my question on that was your take, but I think you posed it nicely because I was asking whether is it right that perhaps these functions of IDEC, some of them, or in fact disband that the IDEC and have all these things back to the SAPS. I think it's upon us, but thank you, Chair.
Honorable Nombalo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to members of the ad hoc committee. And good morning, Shamas. My first question relates to a letter.
You say good morning, what?
Shamas. It's Tagazel.
Oh.
Yes.
No. I have been addressing you as Charlie. It's not something unfamiliar. I just wanted to understand and know so that I can use it as well in future. Thank you so much. Shamas.
The first question I have, Chair, relates to a letter dated the 31st of December 2024, which was written by the minister to disband the political killings task team. Now, in the last paragraph of the letter, the minister says the final and closing report must be submitted to the Ministry Management Executive Committee meeting late January 2025, the date of which will be communicated as soon as possible. Following from that, was that report submitted according to your knowledge, Shamas? Was it submitted to the minister?
I was informed that it was submitted.
Do you know the content of the letter? Are you aware of what was entailed in the letter that was submitted to the minister?
No, I'm not privy to such a communication. I've not seen it.
Okay. Secondly, I want to get the correct sequence of events here. My understanding is that under normal circumstances where there is no political killings task team, dockets which relate to criminal matters are stored in the police stations under the supervision of the investigating officer. Now, this political killings task team was established in 2018 when the scourge of political killings was rife already in KZN. Was the political killings task team only dealing with cases which were reported to it, or there are cases which they took from the police stations which were already reported prior to their establishment? That is my first question. You can answer, General.
Yeah, the team, when it started, I think I will have explained it somewhere that when it started, it had a number of cases that were already registered, that they took over. That obviously those dockets will have been at the police stations that were given to the team when it started. And as the team was working, the team also will have generated new cases that will have happened if there's an incident that happens and the case is open, that case gets transferred to the trust team. And in other instances, you're going to have parallel investigations that will be, while the team is investigating one case and they discover that that case has got a linkage, or the suspect they're looking for has got a linkage into another case. And then they go and request that that case be brought in and merged with this one, just so that the chances of conviction can be improved. So that's a variety of dockets that the team was handling. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you have answered it adequately. And then the minister was appointed in July as the minister 2024, and the letter was issued on the 31st of December 2024. So the conclusion from that is that the period between the assumption of responsibility by the minister and the decision that was taken was 6 months. Between that period, did the minister ever summon a report of these dockets to have an understanding of what is happening and to have an understanding of progress that has been made? Have you ever had a meeting, if not you, the national, according to your knowledge, if not you, the national commissioner, with the minister, wherein the dockets were a subject matter?
Honorable Chair and members, the only engagement we've ever had with the Minister of Police is when the minister was appointed as a Minister of Police. We're all invited in Pretoria, where you gave the minister presentation. But in that presentation, there was nothing talking about task teams at all. And that was the only closest engagement we've ever had with the minister, where he briefed him about the state of policing. So when the decision was taken about the disestablishment of this PKTT, we hadn't had any opportunity to engage with the minister. At least I know myself, I was not invited to meet with him. And later I learned that from the National Commissioner himself also did not have an opportunity to talk to him about it, neither General Kumalo. But when you read what the minister is saying on his letter, is that he's been briefed. So when the minister has been briefed, it simply says someone told the minister that this team must be disestablished. So it is that someone that I believe drafted that letter. And I can speculate, I can assume as to who the person could be. Why will I assume? Is because I've got evidence that junior members of the South African Police Service are communicating with the executive on how they must manage the National Commission. You will have a General Spear sending a WhatsApp to the Deputy Minister of Police. I don't know who's the Deputy Minister. I'm still investigating that part. But he will send this WhatsApp message and tell the Deputy Minister and make suggestion, the Deputy Minister, you must hold the National Commission accountable with this and that and that. And then you will further say, I've even shared these things with comrades so and so. These are General Spear writing messages to the Deputy Minister. And I told the two deputy ministers when we met with the acting minister recently that one of you is part of the problem. I just don't know yet who, but one of the deputies is part of this problem. And so I said it in their face. They can't deny it. They'll confirm. I have WhatsApp messages. Therefore, we are part of the investigation. We'll establish who is this deputy minister. But that's just a typical example. I don't think I've shared with the members. I don't know if you have that WhatsApp. SC, I did communicate with yourself about this one. I don't think we presented, because I can show you as an example of how General Sbiya sends communications to deputy ministers and about issues that he's supposed to address with the National Commission, but he addresses the deputy minister. So the deputy minister must come back and make the National Commission to account on it. So if you want to, maybe you can flight it on the screen if need be, because I do have some of these WhatsApp messages. That the fortunate part, he did not just send it to the deputy minister, he also forwarded these messages to the office of the Inspector General of Intelligence.
So, following the narrations that you have given us, it is reasonable to make a conclusion that the decision to disband the political killings task team was taken by the minister without having requested for any report from the relevant people within the SAPS with regards to the status of the work of the political task team, of the political killings task team. Is that the correct conclusion to make according to what we have said? Do you agree with that conclusion?
I strongly believe, Honorable Chair and members, that what is contained on this letter is not the minister's words. I strongly believe that. If the minister was honest, he would say that someone made me sign this. I did not write it myself. As when the other letters that were signed off by the former Inspector General of Intelligence that were drafted by General Mkhwanazi, that the Inspector General did not write, but she signed them, the letter. And I said, I invite Advocate to Jay Cavender to come here so she can confirm those things, because she used to work in that office of the Inspector General. So when the Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabinde, says to me, the letter's been going back and forth, it made me believe that he was a facilitator of this letter coming from somewhere where it was being drafted to the minister for signature and back being corrected and eventually gets a signature. So I like to believe, as much as the minister has to take ownership of the letter, his signature is here, but I don't think he's the author of this thing. Because if he was, then the question would be, Minister, why didn't you feel that it's important to first sit down with the National Commission and talk about this? How could we make such a drastic decision based on the wrong information? I mean, if you look at what that paragraph says, in 2019, that's a wrong thing to start. A directive was made to the National Commission of Police following the Mkhwanazi Commission report. I presented before this committee that the President of the Republic, on the 18th of May 2018, he addressed the citizen in Pietermaritzburg about this matter. On the 21st, there was a meeting of the IMC. On the 24th of May 2018, the President was in this House of Parliament. We spoke about the IMC. But comes the Minister of Police, who arrived in July 2024 as the Minister of Police. He comes and he says, this task team was established in 2019 based on the Mkhwanazi Commission. We can see the person who's misinformed. He's a year late about the dates. So it's part of the things I wanted to address with the minister. Had he given me an opportunity, we're going to talk about. But he felt that I'm less important to be listened to, and he goes ahead and enforces this letter. So it's a typical example of why I'm saying the minister did not draft this thing. Someone wrote this and he made the minister to sign. But if he says it was on his own who wrote this letter, I hope that what he's going to say here under oath versus what the criminal investigation is going to uncover is going to collaborate. Otherwise, there's going to be a problem.
I think I'm satisfied with your response, General. On page 20, paragraph
Before
37.
Before you go to the next question, just to check, General, because Honorable Nombalo says at the time the minister signed or sent, or the letter was sent on the dissolution of the PKTT, had he demanded a report, a status report to say, this is the work that has been done by the PKTT. It is succeeding or it has failed. So here with this letter, be informed that we are dissolving it. Was there any request for that status report?
I will expect, Honorable Chair, that the minister understands that the accounting officer in the police is a national commissioner. Therefore, a report must be requested from the national commissioner. So, what the national commissioner is saying is that he was never requested. But national commissioner will come here tomorrow. I'm sure he will come and confirm that. But he says he was not informed. He was not requested to provide such. But on the defense of Minister Mkhwanazi, I cannot say that he did not receive any briefing from somewhere. There's a possibility that he might have been briefed by the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, Charles B. I'm not saying he did, but there's a possibility that he would be briefed by him. A person who might claim that says, I'm in charge of all the investigations in the country, so therefore I'm briefing you, here's the position. And if he believes that, well, it's up to the minister then to account why he believes something that comes from a junior person, but not the accounting officer.
Do you have any recollection of yourselves who were involved being requested to provide any report?
No, there was never a request.
Thank you so much. You can proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, for that progressive intervention. General, on page 13, paragraph 20 of your statement, you are saying Mr. Nkabinde said he was put under significant pressure. Did he mention to you who was putting him under pressure?
No, he did not mention that.
So you didn't make a follow-up question of who exactly was putting him under pressure?
No, I did not.
Okay, with regards, you have also mentioned that there was an attempt to link General Khumalo to the murder of Cindy Somakak, the former SG of the ANC Youth League. And the impression which I drew from how you expressed it is that that attempt was just frivolous. It had no material evidence. So they wanted to use it to destroy General Khumalo. Are you in possession of any evidence, even if you don't disclose it, if it's going to compromise the investigation hereof? Are you in possession of any evidence which suggests that General Khumalo was never involved in the murder of Cindy Somakak, and therefore any attempt to associate him with such was nothing but just a frivolous attempt to destroy him?
Honorable Chair and members, I was the commander, provincial commissioner acting in KZN 2018-2019. I've been involved with the work of the PKTT, and each time they are in conducting investigation, they were keeping me informed about the status of the investigation. That's why I know about the arrest of the mayor, I know about the arrest of the municipal manager, I know about the arrest of police officers, I know about the arrest of the hitmen, and I know about the challenges the team faced when they're trying to seek information from crime intelligence in order to establish whether indeed is it true that the vehicle and the firearm that were used were sourced from crime intelligence. If so, what was the project that the crime intelligence was busy with that led into such? So when I I was briefed about all those things, and also a meeting that was held at Pietermaritzburg prison, new prison, over the weekend, outside the visiting hours, where a group of men dressed in black suits and driving fancy cars that came to have a private meeting in prison with the mayor at the time and some people that were arrested discussing that case, a meeting that ended with information coming to us that the people are going to court on Monday, the mayor is going to be released in court. And exactly that what happened. When they went out to court, they were all released. The mayor and the city manager were released, except the hitman. That's why the hitman is now making stories, because he was part of the initial arrest. So I knew about all that information. But when I saw in the media, the Mr. Adams, member of this parliament, who I believe engaged with one of police officers that were arrested, that is currently in custody in KZN, and who then the member who used to work with the political killings task team, arrested by the same task team, he's then becoming a whistleblower by claiming that the team is the one that was behind the murder of Makap, forgetting that the team is the one who was behind the arrest of the people that were involved in the murder of Makap. That mispresentation, which landed in a public space, and the narrative was drawn that Khumalo is a bad person as a result of that. The PKTT are bad people. As we speak now, members that used to work in the team have been visited to issue statement, to write statement, negative statement against the team. It's something that's happening as we speak by the people that want to justify that there was a need to establish the team. I've said members were arrested within the team. If Khumalo or any other member that was working in the team was wrong, they can be arrested as well. Don't dissolve the team because of those individuals. Over 30 police officers were arrested. The team was not dissolved because they was doing his job, arresting on one of their own as well. So if Khumalo is one of the people that should have been arrested as a result, that evidence should have been presented. We've got IPID that has a responsibility to investigate police conduct. They should have been approached and given evidence and let them investigate. But that was not objective because there was no facts on that. But it was just a smear campaign to make sure that they destroy the image of Jerry Khumalo and the members that are working in the PKTT.
If my memory serves me well, General, the decision to release the two members that we have spoken about, the former mayor and the former municipal manager, which was made in Mkhulu Magistrate Court, was that there was no insufficient evidence. But following from what we have explained, the assumption that we can draw is that there was a collaboration of the police and the prosecuting authority, the NPA, because a decision to withdraw charges is not made by a police officer, but by a prosecutor. So I'm telling this committee that for the release of those two individuals, the police collaborated with the NPA, and if so, is there any investigation that is underway in pursuit of finding evidence in that regard?
The collaboration, I wouldn't say between the police and the prosecution, but the prosecution that took a decision that we're collaborating with, I believe, maybe the lawyers of the arrested people. And of course, there are officials within correctional service in Pietermaritzburg that were part of this, because they allow such a meeting to take place in times where the visiting should not have been allowed. And so, and that led into the release of those arrested people at the time. The investigation continued, it never stopped. The conviction that has happened now of the person that when they were released, they made a deal with the hitman that will look after him. So, but when they're outside, they could not look after the person as they had committed. So that's what made this man to be angry in custody. That's why he ended up talking about the things that he was talking about, that he was part of this and they didn't look after him, so therefore he's confessing on what has happened. The unfortunate part is that the mayor killed himself, despite the fact that we had confiscated his firearm, but the court ruled that he must get back his firearm. So he took it and he killed himself. But the municipal manager is in court as we speak, because that investigation continues to find the people that are still behind the death of Sindiso Makaqwa. And that's not going to stop.
You have also made an averment that there are some detectives who were in cahoots with criminals who were within the political killings just team, the result of which you took a decision to rotate them. Did some of those, or did any of the detectives of the political killings task team try to influence the Sindiso Makaqwa case?
No, not that I know of, because then the police when those people were released, police officers were quite upset about it. They were not very happy when such happened. There are many other cases that were in court, and the behavior from both the prosecution and the presiding officers in some of these cases were questionable, that were frustrating the work of the team. So I wouldn't say that their members they were in cahoot with that, but I can confirm again here that murder of Sindiso Makaqwa involved policemen. Policemen that were working at Durban Harbour, who comes from that area. They were part of that operation. What I picked up is that crime intelligence had a project where this firearm and this stolen vehicle were part of the project, and the project for CITs. It was to deal with CITs. And I've said when you want to infiltrate certain syndicates, you need to be part of that syndicate. So unfortunately, the people that they recruited as crime intelligence to run a certain project, they got recruited to kill Sindiso Makaqwa. So while they were busy with this mission of crime intelligence, which was successful, I must say, unfortunately, one of the criminals was killed, but that operation was successful because it was for heist, and that was successful. But the very same criminal that was part of this crime intelligence operation, he then participated in the murder of Sindiso Makaqwa. I think it was a quick cash. You already had the equipment to use it to carry out the task, and he did it. And that was an unintended consequence of that project of intelligence.
I think I'm satisfied on that one. Somewhere in your statement, Shamas, you have said that at some stage you made a conclusion that Mkhwanazi and Matlala were aware of the decision to disband the political killings task team prior. Can you elaborate on that? How did you become aware, and are you in possession of any evidence that corroborates with your assertion?
Honorable members, when the team was studying the communication from the cell phone of the arrested Mr. Matlala, that's where they picked up the communication between him and Mr. Brown, and the communication that has got to do with the close of the team and the anticipation at the time that the dockets are going to be transferred to Jarasbia. So when we add the events that occurred thereafter, including the transfer of these dockets to Pretoria by the instruction of Jarasbia, we could only conclude that this, what is extract of the communication between Matlala and Mkhwanazi, indicates that the two of them might have had something to do with the closure. Maybe from Matlala's side, might not be directly, because he was being frustrated and complaining to Brown Mkhwanazi, and Brown Mkhwanazi communicating with the chief of staff, communicating with the minister, saying the minister and Sibia must come out with a plan. He might have put pressure to the two to make sure that his friend